I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to hold a grudge. You know, the type quiet, gets stepped on, forgives too easy. That was me, or, at least, that's who I used to be. I'm telling you this now, not because I'm proud of what I did, but because I need to get it out. I need someone to know why it happened. Why I snapped. It all started 3 years ago, in a town so boring it didn't even have a decent bar. Just a gas station, a church, and a diner where the waitress called everybody hun. I worked at a local warehouse, night shifts mostly. Nothing fancy, but it paid the bills. And for a while, that was enough. Then came her Jessica. I wasn't looking for anything, really. She just showed up one day at the warehouse. Temporary hire. Red hair, crooked smile, sharp tongue. The kind of girl who made you feel like you were the only person in the room. She asked me for help lifting a box, and I was done for. Just like that, we started talking, then hanging out after work, then sleeping over. You know how it goes. Before I knew it, she moved in. My tiny apartment suddenly smelled like vanilla and cigarettes. I told myself I was lucky, a girl like her, with a guy like me. It didn't add up, but I wasn't about to question it. But that's the thing about people like Jessica. They don't love you, they use you. And by the time you realize it, you're already bleeding out. It started small, money going missing from my drawer. Her phone lighting up at 2 a.m. with messages she wouldn't let me see. Then came the gaslighting, the lies so smooth they felt like truth. She said I was paranoid, said I was losing it. And maybe I was, but not in the way she meant. See, I found out what she was really up to, who she was really seeing. It wasn't just one guy, it was 3. One of them, my own supervisor at the warehouse. Frank, Frank, boarding, beer belly. Thinks he's God's gift to women because he owns a boat. That's when the rage started to crawl in. Not the screaming, breaking things kind. No. Mine was quieter, more patient. The kind of rage that waits. I didn't confront her. Not right away. I played along. I smiled when she lied to my face. I kissed her goodnight. I let her think she still had me wrapped around her finger. Because that's the thing about revenge. It tastes better slow. Asterisk. I started keeping a notebook. Not the kind with flowers on the cover, just a plain black one I picked up from the dollar store. Inside it, I wrote down everything. Times she came home late. Names she mentioned when she thought I wasn't listening. License plates, text messages I saw reflected in her sunglasses. It wasn't about being obsessive. It was about being prepared. If I was gonna do this, I wasn't gonna half-ass it. I wasn't just gonna yell or trash her stuff, or post something online like a teenager. No, that's not justice. That's noise. I wanted to ruin her, make her feel what I felt: helpless, humiliated, hollowed out. But to do that, I had to be patient, and patience. That's a weapon most people don't even know how to hold. She thought she was winning. She'd leave lipstick stains on her neck that weren't mine, smile like she was untouchable, and toss her phone face down every time she sat beside me. I played dumb, nodded like a good little fool. Sure, babe, of course. You were just out with coworkers. Totally makes sense. Meanwhile, I was studying her. Every habit, every tell, every weak point. She liked to brag when she drank. That was my in. One night, she got a little too drunk off cheap tequila and told me how Frank, the same guy who docked my hours last winter, bought her a bracelet as a joke. Yeah, sure. A $600 bracelet from Tiffany's. Real funny, Frank. That's when I realized something. She wasn't just cheating. She was climbing, using each of us like a rung on a ladder, getting what she wanted, then moving on to the next. That's when the plan started to take shape. I didn't want to hurt her physically. That would have been too easy. Too fast. I wanted her to lose everything. Her reputation, her job, her sense of safety. And if I played my cards right, I could take down Frank with her. Maybe even that other loser from the Bardrick, the one with the fake Rolex and too much cologne. The beauty of it was, I didn't have to plant anything. All I had to do was expose what was already there. Because people like Jessica, they leave a trail. They think they're invincible, but they're sloppy. They get lazy when they think you're not watching, and I was watching every damn day. Asterisk. I waited until the end of March. Tax season. People are distracted, anxious. Perfect time to move in the shadows. Frank was the first. Target not because he was the worst, but because he was the weakest. See, Jessica didn't realize how much she talked about him when she was drunk. His money problems, his bad marriage, his pathetic need to feel admired. She said he once cried after sex. I stored that away. I started with his email. Nothing fancy, guessed a couple of password combos till I hit the jackpot. The guy used his dog's name and birth year. Rookie mistake. I forwarded a bunch of messages to myself. Flirty ones, suggestive ones, even a picture of Jessica in his office. No face, but the red hair and the tattoo on her hip. Dead giveaway. I didn't leak anything yet. First, I printed copies, put them in a plain envelope. No name, no return address. Then I drove 45 minutes to his wife's Pilates studio and slipped it into her mailbox. I didn't even wait around. Just walked away and got a burger. 2 days later, Frank didn't show up for work. 3 days after that, he was on leave. Rumors started flying: cheating, HR violations, maybe even blackmail. I didn't say a word, just kept my head down, like always. Jessica noticed something was off. She mentioned Frank wasn't returning her texts. Said he'd gone weird. I just shrugged. That sucks, I said. Maybe he's just busy. She stared at me a little too long, like maybe some part of her knew, but I smiled, kissed her forehead, and told her I'd make dinner that night. Chicken Alfredo, her favorite. She never suspected a thing. That's when I knew I was good at this. Not just lucky - good. See, revenge isn't about rage. It's about control. About staying cool while you make them sweat. Jessica was still floating. Still thinking she was playing everyone. Still thinking she was the one in charge. She had no idea that the game had already flipped. I had the power. Now. And I wasn't done. Asterisk. Derek was easy to hate. He walked like he owned the room, even when he was just ordering nachos at the bar. Always wore sunglasses inside. Always laughed a little too loud. You know, the type: plastic smile, gym muscles, zero soul. Jessica met him at some karaoke night while I was working the graveyard shift. She told me it was just a friend from trivia night. I acted like I believed her. Even helped her pick out a dress before she went to meet him. Sick, right? But that's how you stay close to the fire without getting burned. Turns out, Derek was the kind of guy who loved taking selfies. At the gym, in his car, even in bed. Sometimes with her, sometimes, let's just say, alone but impressed with himself. That was my opening. I made a burner Instagram account: generic, female name, private profile. Took me 2 days to get him to follow me back. 3 days before he started messaging. 4 before he sent something incriminating. Jessica had no idea, Or maybe she didn't care. I was just the safe guy back home, folding her laundry and pretending not to notice the perfume that wasn't hers. One night, I saw Derek drop her off. They didn't see me. I was already parked across the street with the engine off. She kissed him. He slapped her ass. She laughed. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. I didn't follow him that night. I already had what I needed. Instead, I sent those screenshots, his messages, his photos to someone else entirely. His boss. Yeah. Turns out Derek worked at a local dealership. Sleazy place, but still had rules about employee behavior, especially when it came to messaging potential customers with certain images. By the end of the week, Derek's account was deleted. Jessica was quiet. Her phone stopped lighting up at night. She started drinking more, talking less, snapping at little things. The cracks were showing. But the best part, she still thought it was all just bad luck. She had no idea I was the one pulling the strings, that every move she made was already part of my plan. I wasn't done yet, not even close. I thought I'd feel joy, relief, triumph, some kind of fire in my chest when it all came crashing down. But mostly I felt empty. By the time Jessica started unraveling, the first 2 dominoes had already fallen. Frank was on leave after his wife received an envelope full of his dirty secrets. Derek got fired from his dealership thanks to a very professional tip, involving inappropriate messages sent to a potential customer. She didn't know I was behind it. Not yet, but she could feel it. That invisible weight pressing down on her. Her confidence faded. Her phone, once buzzing non-stop, barely lit up. She drank more, smiled less, even started forgetting her lies mid-sentence. And I waited. I didn't yell, didn't accuse. That's not how I played. I wanted her to see it, to feel the consequences like a storm rolling in slowly dark skies, cold air, pressure building in. The chest. Then, one night, I left my phone unlocked on purpose. Just one photo, an old one, her and Frank, half-cropped, but obvious enough. I watched her expression shift when she saw it. "What's this?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Funny." "What you find when you're not even looking," I said. That was it. The moment she knew, she stared at me like I was a stranger. Like maybe I'd always been one. "You've been spying on me." I shook my head, calm, controlled. "No, I've been watching. There's a difference." She fell onto the couch, stunned. I sat across from her, placing a manila envelope on the table. Inside, printed messages, screenshots, a timeline. Her life, in paper form. Evidence of every deception, every smug little moment she thought she got away with. Frank's wife knows. Derek's boss knows. And now you do too. She looked like she might faint. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "Because you made me invisible," I said. "You took everything I gave and laughed behind my back. You treated me like I was nothing, and now I'm all you can see." She didn't cry, didn't scream, just stared at the floor like it might open and swallow her whole. The next morning, she left. No goodbye, no closure, just ... gone. I stood at the window and watched her car disappear down the street. I waited for the satisfaction, the surge of power. The eye showed her moment, but it never came. Instead, I walked through the apartment in silence. The quiet was louder than any fight we ever had. Her scent still lingered in the air. Her toothbrush was still by the sink. And all I could think was, I won. So why did it feel like I lost? Because the truth is, revenge doesn't fill the hole. It just proves it exists. I got everything I wanted. Justice, control, the upper hand. But at the end of it all, I was still standing in the same place alone. Tired, staring at the door she walked out of. People say closure is something you give yourself. Maybe, but what I gave myself was something colder. Not peace, not forgiveness, just silence. And maybe that's all I ever wanted from her. Not an apology, not even love, just for her to finally see.